Everyone. Good afternoon. It is the afternoon experiment. My name is Emanuel Livingston. I am with you until probably about 5 o'clock, depending on how things go. Probably with you till about 5 o'clock. 513-717 King. 513-717 King. That is the number to get on board. Oh, I barely made it in. Barely made it in. Uh, let's see. Butler Brown. Good afternoon. TC. Hey, I'm here. I'm here. I, in a few minutes, I'm gonna tell y'all about how this new schedule is gonna work. But oh my goodness, I'm here, TC. I'm here. Uh, Terry. Good afternoon. Come on, I'm trying to make this like a habit. I don't remember where y'all from. I don't remember like that. So if you're coming in and you're saying good afternoon, let me know where you're saying good afternoon from. Let me know where you're saying good afternoon from. Um, I figured, TC. I figured. Brenda. Brenda says hello. Oh, she's talking to the little baby from Fairfield. TC from Kentucky. All right. Uh, I see you, Fame. Fame in there. He's talking bingo stuff, which I don't know nothing about. Carolyn. Good afternoon. Terry. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's see. Dwayne. Dwayne. I think I said Dwayne from Mount Airy. No, Terry said downtown. Olympia. Good afternoon, Olympia. Where are you from? Where you checking me out at? Jeannie. Jeannie. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Butler Brown said Cartersville, Georgia. Kim. Kim Brandy. Good afternoon. Don Wagner from Madisonville. He over there in Madisonville. That might not be where he lived. That's just where he is right now. So I'm not asking you to tell me where you live. Just where you checking us out from. Crystal. Forest Park. All right. Bonita. Bonita from Mount Airy. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you all for checking me out, for taking a little bit of time out to spend a little bit of time with me. Now, let me explain this new schedule. Let me explain this new schedule. Now, wait a minute. I got Brandy. Brandy says greetings. Greetings, Brandy. Denise Devine. Good afternoon. College Hill. College Hill checking in. All right. Jeannie says greater Cincinnati area. That's not funny. Let me see. We got Reevy. Reevy from Coreyville. Sierra Brooks. Checking in from Boston. All right, Boston. Boston in the house. Sabrina Brini. I believe North College Hill. I'm not sure where she is. Yo Underwood says, okay, let me get this out the way. Quit bullying James Muhammad. I talk about that in a second as well. Nat. Nat says, good afternoon. What you? Okay. I just didn't know what you was doing. Logic Slayer from Gulf Manor. Brittany says she's checking in. Checking in from Kentucky. Tria checking in. All right. Scott. All right. So now let me explain. For those of you who weren't here, Yo Underwood checking in from College Hill. For those of you who weren't here, and y'all can keep saying hi and where y'all from, just amongst yourselves. For those of you who weren't here yesterday for the King and I podcast, I moved the show. We'll be 3 to 5 now, or somewhere close to 3. Somewhere close to 3. See, let me explain how my new schedule is going. Let me explain how my new schedule is going. you doing? The way the new schedule is going is this. All right, I get up in the morning. I'm adding in another piece to this just because my diet is about to suffer. Not that it was great anyway, but it's definitely about to suffer. Um, I'm not a morning person. I can't eat in the morning. I can't eat in the morning. Okay? So I get up in the morning, and today is Tuesday, not Monday. I don't know why I thought it was Monday. And I just changed that and put Monday in. I'll change that. Hold on. I don't know if it'll change on your part. But thank you. All right. So I get up in the morning. I can't eat. I can't eat in the morning. But I get up and I take this little baby to school. Then with this new gig, I rush from taking this little baby to school off to the new gig. I don't have time to stop and eat. Do the new gig, and I'm busy the entire time I'm doing that. It's a good busy because I enjoy myself. But I'm busy the entire time that I'm doing that. So then I leave there, and then I rush to, because I'm out in Westchester for this. So then I rush to pick up this little baby. I pick her up, try to be there at 2:45. My window is 2:45 to 3. And then after 3, you're late. So you can start picking them up at 2:45, but you had to have them picked up by 3. So around, I'm trying to rush and get her at 2:45. Then rush back home. Of course, between the school and the house, I don't have time to stop and grab nothing to eat. So then I rush here and then run straight into the studio, turn on the cameras, and then you see me. So I have not eaten anything today. Nothing. 0. And I'm cool. I'm cool. And luckily, when I get off at, around 5 o'clock or so, I have time then to go eat. There will be days when I get off at 5 that I got to rush straight somewhere else because I need to be there. Well, one day I'm supposed to be there at 5, but that's not going to happen. But I need to get there as soon as possible to do what I have to do. And then I'll end up getting home at about 9:30. And then that's when I'll eat breakfast, is at about 9:30. If I'm not too tired to eat. Sometimes I just be too tired to eat. So then I'll just go to sleep and do it all over again. But hey, I'm enjoying myself. Like, y'all don't understand. I am having a ball with the new gig. Y'all already know I like doing this. I absolutely love picking up the baby and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all good. Carolyn says, that's not good for you or your body. Food prep. I'm cool. I mean, sometimes I'll go 2 or 3 days without eating anyway. So it ain't that big of a deal. I don't get hungry, so I'm not complaining. I'm just letting y'all know. I'm really busy, so sometimes it might be 3:05, 3:10, maybe even a 3:15, depending on traffic or something like that. But I plan on being here. Now, here is the drawback. I've not had any time today to do any show prep. I listened to the Lincoln Ware show because I can listen to the Lincoln Ware show in one ear, put my AirPod in. I can listen to the Lincoln Ware show in one ear and do the editing and stuff that I'm doing. But I don't have time to go online and look up stories, all of that kind of stuff. I kind of try to watch the news, but So I don't really, y'all caught up on the food part. 3 days without food is pushing the lines of starvation. Well, after about 2.5 days, I kind of start, feel myself kind of shaking just a little bit. And then I remember oh, you haven't eaten in a couple days. But other than that, I really don't think about it. I don't get hungry. And sometimes I need that little, kind of start shaking and feeling weak. And that's what reminds me that I haven't eaten. Because I don't think about eating. It drives Mrs. Livingston crazy. It drives her crazy. So, I think she used to Be like, I'm gonna see. I think he just pretending. Like, who pretends to not eat? But I think she used to be like, I think he just pretending to be this way, so she wouldn't say anything. And then, now she'll say to me, "What did you eat today?" I don't think I ate anything. Then she'd be like, "It's 8 o'clock at night, and you haven't eaten anything. Go eat something." But I don't know. I don't get hungry. And even if she cooked, like, it just don't register with me. But don't get caught up on the food piece. I'm fine. I'm fine. Um let's see. But yeah, the only story that really caught my attention today was the 14-year-old. Was a 14-year-old arrested for shooting the 15-year-old. That's really the only story that really caught my attention today. And of course, I don't have no answer for this stuff. I don't have no answer for 14-year-olds shooting 15-year-olds. Who's got an answer for that? Nobody. Nobody's got an answer for that. I don't. Y'all know I'm always hesitant to say this. But sometimes you got to look at the parents. I know this. When my kids was 14 and 15 years old, now I'm not saying they could not have been in a position that find themselves around a bad crowd and end up getting hurt or shot. I'm not saying that. Stray bullets can hit anybody. Stray bullets can hit anybody. But as a parent, my kid wasn't going to have no gun in the house. And I am hesitant to say it. And I know I say it, I'm hesitant, but I say it a few times. I think parents, we got to start holding some parents responsible for the bad behavior of their children. How? I don't know. How? I'm not sure. Because I wouldn't want to send a parent to jail because their 14-year-old shot somebody. But y'all still focused on the food. I'm talking about something serious here. Realistically, brainstorm this with me. What can we do to parents of young people, of minors? I would say if you're under 16, you got to be held responsible for the actions of your child in terms of criminal behavior, in terms of violent behavior. If your child is under 16 and they live with you, you got to be held responsible to some degree for their actions. Can we all agree on that? By a show of hands. Anybody agree with me on that? You gotta hold it to some degree. Now, to what degree, I don't know. That's why I want to kind of brainstorm. Because I want to be fair. If your 14 kills somebody, what happens? What happens to you? If my 14-year-old had killed someone, do I deserve to be in jail? I don't know. Any thoughts? Anybody? Any thoughts? The lines are open. Yeah, the lines are open. 717 King, 717-5464. Any thoughts? Is jail appropriate? I know if I'm the 15-year-old's family, I'm looking at the parents and I'm thinking, and I hope I got the ages right. If I'm the family of the victim, how about I just say that? if I'm the family of the victim, I want the parents to suffer some consequences because I'm suffering consequences because of the actions of your child. What are you doing? I'm, I'm suffering some consequences because of the actions of your child. And so I want you, parent, to suffer some consequences. I think I want you to suffer some serious consequences too. I might want you to go to jail. I might want you to go to jail. Uh Mary says they are charging a black girl whose child died because she was sleeping in the bed with her. It's insane. They wouldn't charge a Caucasian girl with that crime. Okay, I'll deal with that in a minute because I don't know that I agree with you. But I'll deal with that in a minute. Kathy Love. Kathy says it's called a disease. It's called sins. We don't know. Crazy because some people never heard from good. Stop the senseless killing. Not 100% sure what you mean there, but I do agree with the sentiment that we should stop the senseless killing. Ross Freeman says, yeah, lock me up too, because I failed somewhere. Okay. So you agree with jail time, but you wouldn't say the same amount of jail time that the actual person who did it. I mean, sure, there's some degree of, because I look at it as some degree of negligence on the part of the parent. There's some degree of negligence. So maybe that parent is charged with what? Negligent homicide? Because if not for you neglecting your child or neglecting your parental duties, which I think that's one of your parental duties. It's one of my parental duties to raise my child to be a good human, to not run around killing people. That's one of my duties as a parent. And if I neglected that duty, Lakeisha wants to know what you're talking about. Here in Cincinnati, there was, hold on, let me see if I can get the actual details of the story. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know me. I just be going on about stuff, thinking everybody know because I know. Cincinnati police arrest 14-year-old in connection to the shooting death of a 15-year-old. Oh, stop it. Y'all probably can't hear it. But I'm hearing this commercial running in my ear. Police said they have taken a 14-year-old into custody on a murder warrant in connection to the shooting death of 15-year-old Sean Lewis. Officers responded 10 p.m. Friday, where they found Lewis suffering from a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital and treated, but he died shortly after. A 14-year-old has been charged in his death. And I'm asking, is it time to start charging parents with, because for me, that's what I've come up with negligent homicide. When your child who's under 16, arbitrary 16 being the cutoff, 15 years, 364 days, you're responsible. But on that birthday, maybe not. But right up to it, you're responsible. And if your kid kill a kid or kill anybody, you get charged with negligent homicide. Because due to your negligence, your kid went out and killed somebody. It's a lesser charge usually. Ross says half the jail time. TC says, think about this generation is totally different than when we was 14. There are parents out here that's 14. Oh well. Oh well. I'm not responsible for, the fact that you went out there at 14 and had sexual relations and got pregnant. That don't mean you can't be responsible. Um, LaDon says a lot of these kids you can't control. A lot of these kids you can't control. Oh well, you need to start raising them then when they're born. You'll be able to control them. For real, there are people who wait. There are people who wait until their kid get a certain age before they start disciplining them. And different people do things different ways. That might be effective, maybe not. But no, man, you got to be able to control your child. You had them. You had them. It's your responsibility to control them. Not mine. Not ours. It's your responsibility to control them. It's your responsibility to control them. Andrew says parents are responsible until the child turns 18. So yes, parents should have to pay some type of penalty for the minor child, jail time or monetary. I'm going with negligent homicide. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, start charging these parents. Heck, they get charged when kids are truant from school. And they get a trial. I mean, it ain't like your kid killed somebody and you don't get a trial. You get a trial. And a jury of your peers will get the opportunity. Okay, maybe not. I'm not going to say a jury of your peers because most times it's not a jury of your peers. But a jury will get the opportunity to decide whether or not you are partially responsible for this action. And who knows, you might go to court and you might be able to show to a jury that, hey, I did everything that a responsible parent could do. From birth to now, I've done it all. And then something happened and this child just got wild. All right. And if you can prove that to a jury, then they'll find you not guilty. They'll say you're not responsible. But you should be charged. You should be charged. Most definitely. Britt checking in from Dallas. Anthony says, that's why I believe sometimes a good old-fashioned ass whooping is called for with some kids. And it is with some kids. It is. And it's not all the time. It's not every time they do a little something wrong. But sometimes, some kids, it's not even a blanket across the board. Sometimes, some kids need some physical discipline. And I know some people, even people watching, who are like, oh, that's just bullying kids. If you can't find a better way to teach the kid to do this, then okay, whatever. If you got to bully the kid to get him to do what's right, you got to do what you got to do. But you're teaching violence when you did. Let me see. Lakeisha want to know, so what about those folks to do all the parenting right and the child still goes wild? They get a trial. They get a trial. And they get the opportunity to plead that case. They get the opportunity to say, look, I did everything right. I even checked his or her room. I didn't know they had a gun. They were doing whatever. They were like really slick. And there's no, and how did you get the gun? Well, my mom didn't know nothing about the gun, whatever, whatever. I had my friend hold it for me, and he would. I don't know how people do stuff, because I was scared to do bad. But, however, and then you get to make that case. And if I think, as a reasonable person, I could listen to your parenting story. I could hear you tell me how you raised this child and how this child just somehow turned out to be a monster. Not your fault, not of your doing, just it ended up being that way. And then I can say, okay, well, that parent did all they could do. And that child just went wild. You're not guilty. You were not negligent. But I would argue probably most times, and I'm saying probably because I'm just guessing, probably most times that's not the case. Because I want to know, when did you start disciplining the child and how? If you was giving full-fledged belt whoopings to a 1-year-old, yeah, you negligent. You was just violent. How many times did you cuss him out in Walmart? Like, you was negligent. You were mean and evil as a parent. And you created a mean, evil child. Or you were just so hands-off because you didn't discipline your child. So you kind of by default neglected to teach values, good values, because you're teaching some values. You neglected to teach good values, so you're responsible. But now, if you can prove your case, you got it. If you can prove your case, you got it. Let's see. It stems from a lack of conflict resolution. And I agree, it falls back on the parents. Back in 2015, I said we should start charging these parents of the minors. And again, I like the fact that you're charged. You're just throwing you in jail. You're charged. So you get to defend yourself. And yeah, if you raise a 14-year-old that kills people, you should have to defend your parenting. You should. Let me see. Somebody says 241 Kids has the answer for that. God said, whoop them cheeks. Do not spare the rod. And Anthony, and this is so true, you can't just talk to or put on punishment every child. And that's a part of it. Like, if you out there having sexual relations, and I know young people out there having sexual relations and they not thinking this stuff through, but that ain't my fault. That ain't my fault. You making decisions. You out there having sexual relations, you got to think this stuff through. When you have children, you have to think about and get to know your individual child. You have to know what works and what doesn't work. It's a little trial and error. It's a little trial and error. Every kid don't need a whooping. And we all know. I'll say it just because you kind of have to say it. But if you got multiple kids, there's a good chance you got that one kid that all you got to do is, and they crying. And you got that other kid that you might have to yell at. But you got that one that you can look as stern as you want. You can yell as much as you want. You can put them on punishment as much as you want. They don't care. You got to whoop that ass. And they'll get that. And some maybe not even that. Like they want, that's not what get them. Oh, you need to get them in some counseling or something and figure it out. But you took on the responsibility when they're, doing it. I wonder if they start charging their parents with a slow down this unnecessary shooting and killing, especially when the child is underage. I think it's a possibility that it would. It's a possibility that it would. Wouldn't stop it. It's a possibility, though, that more people who are raising children would look at their children and think about what would happen if my child did some bad stuff. What would happen? Like, oh, okay, if he get in trouble, I can legit get in trouble. So then you press upon them. Now, what it might do, an unintended effect of it might be, like child abuse might go up. Because people who aren't good, don't know how to, don't put much thought into raising their children in order to create a situation where they're not getting in trouble. They might abuse the child thinking this is the way to create the situation where I'm not going to get in trouble. I'll just make this kid so petrified to do wrong. There's a way to do that. I was scared to do wrong. Mama was quick with the belt. And for all y'all who talk about, how whooping and all that kind of stuff is not good. I guess I can't argue that it's great. I know with me it was effective in terms of keeping me from doing things I ain't had no business doing. There are some things I just didn't do. I wasn't worried about getting arrested. I wasn't worried about getting suspended. I wasn't worried about, the only thing that worried me about any of it, you're going to go to 2020 and they going to beat you up. I ain't worried about that. Oh, you're going to, whatever. You're going to fail. You're going to stick. I ain't worried about that. I probably should have been, but I wasn't. I ain't worried about that. Only thing, I knew if I would have got suspended, Moms was going to tear me up. I knew if I got arrested, Moms was going to leave me there first. And then when I finally got home, Moms was going to tear me up. I knew, you know what I'm saying? That was the thing that kept me from doing things that would have other consequences. Not the other consequences, but what would happen after the consequences when Mama found out. That kept me from doing a whole lot of stuff. And that's the honest to goodness truth. I wasn't scared of the police. I was scared of the police bringing me home to Mama. I wasn't scared of the teacher. I was scared of the teacher calling Mama. If Mama hadn't been in the picture and whoopings wasn't on the table, because I wasn't a kid that cared about no timeout. I don't even timeout. Did it even exist then? I'm sure it did. It didn't exist in my house. I wasn't worried about no punishment. I wasn't worried about not being able to go outside, not being able to play my video games, not being able to this, not being able to that. I was a kid that could sit in my room all by myself with nothing else and no one else and enjoy myself. Like have fun, just sitting there with my thoughts. So none of that affected me. But that belt, that affected me. You got to know your children. Parents are accountable for their minor children for whatever they do. Parents should be accountable for whatever they do. They should be. TC says, 241 kids cut the old-fashioned parenting. Hit your child and you go to jail. No, I was definitely more afraid of Mama than I was of 241 kids. And that's because I wasn't being abused. I wasn't being abused. The threat of the whooping was enough for me. So I wasn't being abused. That's why I always be like, if people who are afraid of 241 kids, I think you're abusing your children. Because the thought of calling 241 kids, I, it never entered into my mind. Well, 241 kids wasn't out there. It was 221 Suma. It was 221 Suma when I was coming up. But the thought of calling 221 Suma never entered my mind. I already knew Mom's take on that. Go ahead and call them, and they can keep you. But if they send you back here, I'm beating your ass. You know what I'm saying? That sounds so abusive, but I'm telling you, that was Mom's. You can call 221 Suma if you want, and they can come and they can take you. Let's see. Nat says, I take a whooping before taking away my games, going outside, etc. And that's why I say every child is different. Every child is different. And it's a little trial and error. I got put on punishment before. That meant nothing to me. And I know Moms was paying attention. I'm going to put him on punishment. You can't go outside. I think it was like for 3 days. You can't go outside for 3 days. I loved going outside. But I would take staying in the house, doing nothing, over a whooping. So we were different. That's what I say. You got to, as a parent, you have to know your child. You have to know your child. And, some of that is trial and error. Brent says, timeout was the nap you got after getting whooped. Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. That was one way to look at it. I done told y'all this story before. My mom was kind of cruel with that. Moms didn't like you to just go on and on crying. You could cry. She'd give you opportunity to get it out. Hey, be careful back there. You don't knock my thing down. And then, what was I saying? She would let you get the cry out, but if you kept going, you was in danger of getting another one. You was in danger of getting another one. She actually used to make us smile. Cut out all that crying. Smile. She flipped it the whole other way, and then we'd be, you better cut out all that noise. But you got to know your kids. You got to know your kids. Yo Underwood says, charging the parents, can't agree with that. Both of my parents was hardworking and was on my ass. I still decided to make dumb mistakes until I got older. If they would have been on your ass a little more, you might not have made them same mistakes. Maybe, and who am I? I'm saying it's your parents. But apparently their methods were not effective for you. Their methods were not effective for you. They needed to explore some different methods. And maybe if you was just making dumb mistakes, you call them mistakes, bad decisions, or as they call them at the school, red choices. If you kept making red choices and what they were doing wasn't working, they probably needed to get you some counseling. Get you some counseling. Maybe get them some counseling, some joint family counseling, so they would know what was effective with you. Yeah, even your parents. Let's see. Also, the system need to recognize a few welts on the child on the butt for a child that is unruly ain't that serious. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about it. I'm not saying you wrong, cause I don't ever remember getting like a welt on me. I remember, getting some good licks though. I don't know, maybe just being a darker skinned uh, person helped with that. But uh, Jarika says, I got into a car accident in my mom's car, and the paramedic said, your mom is going to be happy knowing that you're okay. I said, no, you don't know my mama. She was shook. I I'm telling you, I can identify with that. I can identify with that. It never happened to me. It never happened to me. But I can identify with the fact that you think she's gonna be happy. No, I'm about to get. I'm about to get it. I'm about to get it. Oh, Latana forgot about 221 Suma. um, Ross. Sorry. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I had to get a switch when Ali was fighting on Channel 12. Ben says they ask kids at school if they've been hit. Nobody calls them. All right. All right. Again, I wouldn't worry about that. When I was raising kids, 241 kids was out here. All these same rules was in place. When I had to deliver a whooping, I delivered a whooping. Whooping was the last resort. Like it's not the first resort. Whooping is a last resort. Hold on, we've been through this over and over and over. I don't put you on punch. I don't talk to you. I don't reason with you. I did all of that stuff. Now then I put you on punishment. Now I don't did everything I could think of to do. You about to get this whooping. Jericho said, I think all black mothers said the same thing about calling them folks. I don't know about everybody else, but I believe my mama. I believed if I ever called 221 Suma, I wasn't never coming back home. I was never coming back home. I never really seriously thought running away. If I wanted to run away, I would have just called 221 Suma. And I know I wouldn't have been back home. That'd have been it. I'd have been free. My mom said the same thing. Also said she would still be beating my ass once they got there. Uh, who that little baby in the background? um, Ross says you wasn't bad. You wasn't even doing it. That's true. I was trying to do it, but I had no game. And TC, there you go. TC said my mom and my granny gave me that look, and I was cool. See, that look worked on you. That look worked on you. What? Kenneth Jones says my grandmother would beat your ass with a hammer, and you bet not cry. um, somebody saying that's abuse. What's abuse? What I say that was abuse? Oh, the hammer. Yeah, that is abuse. LaDonna says I used to make my kids smile too. Yeah, my mama would make us smile. Sabrina, that's my sister. She can testify. I'm not lying to y'all. Yo says I was hard headed. Okay, I'm not. Look, I'm not saying you wasn't. I believe you were, wholeheartedly. But Something would have worked on you. Something would have worked. You don't want to fight. No, bro, don't fight me. I love your parents. Oh. Don't fight me. Will said he late to the party. Will, we talking about the 14-year-old who killed, who's charged with killing the 15-year-old. Charged with, because, I don't know. There's not been a trial, any of that kind of stuff. And if I said he actually did it, I apologize. He's charged with it. But, and we're discussing whether or not parents should be charged. And I would say the charge would come. The charge has to come after a conviction, right? Because anybody can be charged with something. So what, the charge comes out, or does the charge come along with the other charge? Like, can you be convicted of negligence? Like maybe you get charged with murder. The 14-year-old's charged with murder. The mother and father, because that's another thing. I'll bring that up in a second. The mother and father then are charged with negligence. If that person is convicted of murder, it becomes you're charged with negligent homicide. But if they not convicted of murder and but they still kind of, because there is something that's making somebody think that you did it. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole a little bit, but just, look, bad cops exist. People get framed for stuff that they didn't do. All of that stuff exists. It does. It all exists, and I believe it all happens. But I would say chances are, if you 14 and you getting arrested for murdering somebody, there was some evidence that led to you being suspected of that. You probably not living the best life or the most righteous life to even get that charge. So, if you're not guilty of the murder, you're still a badass kid. And that parent, for allowing you to even be in the situation where it's possible that you could be arrested and charged with murder, there's still some level of negligence there. So maybe instead of now you're charged with negligent homicide, now you're just charged with child neglect. And then you have to take, classes and, maybe even do a little bit of jail time, take some classes, and then you get to come back out and maybe try to do some more child rearing. Maybe. Am I making any sense? Am I making any sense? Terry says, what the hell was 221? 221 Summa. It was a number. Look, again, I was a kid. But I remember seeing TVs here in Cincinnati on the air. Not TVs, commercials on TV, on the air about, if you're a child and you're being abused, you could call 221 Summa. That was the SUMA, 221 Summa. I believe Summa was an organization. And, they had a hotline number. And I guess one of the things that they did was, you could call 221 Summa and you could be, your parents could be investigated. Stop lying. You put babies in headlocks. And? And? Shahir said, "Did you see that video? Of Serena's mom giving Serena's daughter that look when she was acting up during her last games. She gave her that look, and the little girl turned around like, "Oh no, I'm good." I didn't see that. I didn't see that. We have to do better as people. Yeah, that's what Will says. Yo Underwood says so. Now that you got older and couldn't do anything when younger, now you turned into a talk show bully. I am not a bully. Um, DC says, "Nah, it was 241. Nah, I'm 95% sure. 221 Suma. And then it turned when 241 Kids came out. But I'm 95% sure Suma was 221. It was 221 Suma, not 241. 241 is 241 Kids. Janice says, "I not say those parents, I will say that those parents should not have to go into prisons along with hardened criminals." Well, I mean, I don't, where would you send them? Some nice cushy place? They not, and I don't, they not going to like maximum security prison. I don't imagine that they would be going to a maximum security prison. Like that, I don't. But maybe if they're convicted of negligent homicide, maybe they will. And I don't know. Maybe that's what had to happen. Maybe that's what had to happen. Send a message. Headlock. Yeah, I will. Trust me. If this little baby back up, I'll put her in a headlock. Yes. Um. Brenda says yes. 221. Ron Omega says, "I'm 55 years old, and you are correct." Yes, it was 221. Myosa just tuned in. What the heck is SUMA? SUMA was an organization. I don't remember what it stands for, but it was an organization here in Cincinnati. Here in Cincinnati. It was an organization. There should be special prisons. We want to rehabilitate, not destroy. Excuse me. I don't know. I, I'm going to be honest. I don't 100% believe in rehabilitation in that way. And it kind of sounds sad to say out loud, but I don't 100% believe in rehabilitation in that way. I believe rehabilitation is you coming to yourself and making the decision, I'm not going to make those decisions anymore. And then once you've made those decisions, then, you learn other options or whatever. But I don't know that you can rehabilitate somebody's. I think what has to happen, and this is just me, I could be wrong. This is just, I'm not saying this is some scientific anything. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist, any of that kind of stuff. This is just me based on nothing. I don't believe in rehabilitation in that way. Like somebody who I like to rob people. You know what I'm saying? I like to rob people. That's what I like to do. You're going to put them in a program and rehabilitate them? If that's what they like to do, that's what they like to do. I think you have to kind of show them the consequences for what they do and punish them and, try to change their mind. But if that's what they like to do, that's what they like to do. That's what they gonna do when they get out. They gotta change. They gotta rehabilitate themselves. Themselves, himself, herself. I don't know. The person has to do the rehabilitation for themselves, I believe. And it's like, at least in my mind. Again, I'm not a counselor. I'm not saying this as, somebody with any sort of I don't credentials or anything like that. Just what I feel. It's like being a drug addict, based on what people tell me. Drug addict can go to drug counseling, detox, and all of that kind of stuff. But until they decide, until they make the decision that they gonna stop, ain't really nothing you can do to stop them. I feel that same way with people who, do criminal behavior and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that stuff starts as a child, which is why you have to raise a child. Raise a child. You have to guide their thoughts. I allow my child to be a free thinker and just think what you got to guide them thoughts. You got to guide them. They going to have thoughts that that are bad, destructive. And you got to guide that. Just because you want to do this don't mean you get to do this. You have to think about other people. How is that going to affect this? Is that, what I'm saying? You have to guide all of that. And you got to do it, in my opinion, from day one. From before day one. And I've told y'all this too. I believe this stuff, some of this stuff is going to sound crazy. Some of this stuff is going to sound crazy to you. But it's what I believe. I told you I had this friend named Curtis. He was from Chicago. And Curtis used to always say this. And I thought he was crazy at the time. And I thought about it, and it kind of makes sense. He would always say, babies come from the mind of the man. No, they come from something else of the man. No, babies come from the mind of the man. The theory being, if you're, engaged in sexual relations and you're in the position where you're creating a child, what are you thinking? How are you thinking? And yeah, if you thinking negative thoughts towards that woman and just, whatever, then that's what is kind of I'm going to say seeping into that child. And if you're thinking, I love this woman, I want to spend my life with this woman, or, even just, they might not necessarily be the purest thoughts, but they're not destructive thoughts. I think it starts then. And then the baby is conceived. And then what's going on during that whole process? See, to me, that's raising a child. That entire process up until they born, and then it just becomes a little bit more intense. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. Yo Underwood says, huh? Okay. Again, I told you I was going to sound crazy to some people. And I know it sounds crazy to some people, but that's how I see it. But here's what I was conflicted. I paused a moment ago and said I wanted to deal with something later. Because now I'm going to deal with what I believe to be a reality in not our community, but in our world. So we talking about parents potentially being charged for the crimes of their children. Are we talking about both parents? Are we talking about even absentee parents? I'm not sure where I am on that. So so let me think it through. So let me think it through. LaDonna says she never heard of that. She never heard of that. Let me think this through. Live on air. If we're talking about negligence, and we definitely talking about but at the same time, you have to think about how many absent parents, as some people call them, how many non-custodial parents would love to be a part of their child's life, but they're held out. So all of that would have to be taken into consideration, right? Because Anthony says he thinks both should be held responsible. Okay, all right. Now I'm trying to be generic because there are absent moms and absent dads. There are single moms and single dads. So I'm trying to be generic. But for this example, I'm using mom is the custodial parent. Dad been trying to have a relationship with his child, but mom have fought him the entire way. Now we know a child gets to a certain age where a child can make a decision, but mom in this particular case has poisoned child against dad. Y'all, this stuff happens. I'm not just making something up. It happens both ways, but like I said, for this example, I'm using mom. So dad was trying to get into the life of his child. Dad was not allowed to get into the life of his son. Not allowed. Fought in court, doing his best to get involved. Then that child grows up at 14, kill somebody. Well, we just said the parents have to be charged. They have to be held responsible, right? How do you hold the dad responsible when he wasn't allowed by the mom and the courts to assume responsibility? The legal system is telling some of these men, sorry, you can't be involved. Now the legal system, gonna come back and tell the person that they told that you can't be involved that it's your fault. You were negligent. They made you negligent. So that's why I'm like, it all depends. And I guess the deal is you get charged and you go to trial, right? You get charged and you go to trial. And then you can plead that case. You can plead that case. You can say, look, and we can go through that. Hopefully you got an attorney, and your attorney can go through and see how much you fought to see your child. You got all the text messages. You got all the court rulings. You got all the times you tried. You got the record from JFS. You've been legit trying. You've been in the fatherhood project. You've been working hard. You can prove all of that in court. Then I guess you're not guilty. Because you tried. But when, because some of this goes down to, all right, I know I'm coming up with situations because this is all real stuff. This is all real stuff. You fought and fought and fought because you know that custodial parent, mother or father, is not raising your child right. You know that they, don't have necessarily, hold on, Jason says, You defeated your own argument saying the custodial parent. They are the court appointed parent who is responsible, not the other parent. That's not true. Just because they're the custodial parent doesn't mean they're the only one that's responsible. That's not what custodial parent means. If you don't become the custodial parent, that doesn't mean you wash your hands and now you have no responsibility. I ain't got nothing to do with that kid because he don't live with me. That's not what that means. Custodial parent is just the parent, the child, or what they call it now, the residential parent or whatever. That's who the child live with. Sure, they share probably the bulk of the responsibility of the day-to-day responsibility of raising the child. But that doesn't negate the responsibility of the other parent. It doesn't. It doesn't. I know a lot of people actually view it that way. They look at it that way. But that's not the case. It's not the case. But say you fight for this child. You fight to be a part of this child's life. And I don't know what. At the age of 9, you finally are given regular visitation, which a lot of times consists of every other weekend. And what, a week or two out the summer. I think you still get to go to court and make your case. But I think if that's the case, 9 years of raising is a lot of pouring into a child. Because trust me, you pour in something. If you are raising a child, you are pouring something into that child. Even if you are 100% neglecting them, that's still pouring that, I'm going to say spirit, that spirit of neglect into them. You pouring potentially rage into them because they're neglected. You're pouring depression into them because they're neglected. You're pouring, you know what I'm saying? You are pouring something into your child. If you are raising a child, you are pouring something into them. It's just a matter of what it is that you're pouring. No, I don't even talk to my child. And you pouring neglect. Which, what are the fruits of neglect? That's what you're pouring into that child. Sadness and depression and anger and yeah. So you're pouring something into the child, whether you know it or not. You are. So 9 years of that being poured into this child, and then I get to try to pour a little bit of hope and love and positivity for every other weekend and a couple weeks out the year. And I don't know how strong my stuff is to overcome all that other stuff. It can happen. It can happen. But I'm right. I'm back to charge them all. Charge them all. And then you fight it out in court. Now, of course, I don't know that you can charge, a parent who didn't know that they were the parent. That only makes sense. But yeah, it's time. I think it's time. Maybe what I'm saying might be a little harsh. Negligent homicide, but Brent says a couple weekends ago there was a tragic case of a 15-year-old foster child murdering both foster parents. That is tragic. That is tragic. Unless, I know somebody gonna say, no, ain't no unless. It's tragic. It's tragic unless there was reason. Like if they were abusing that child, if they was beating or sexually assaulting that child, and then that child murdered them, I don't know that that's all that tragic. It's tragic that the child was beaten and, mistreated to the point where they felt like they had to resort to murder. But, maybe the murder not so much. If that were the case. If that were the case. I don't really know. Of course, he just put that up there, so I don't really know the story. I don't really know the story. Are we excited? Are we excited about the Woman King? Are we excited about that? Because I'm seeing two different things, and I kind of understand both sides. I'm seeing two different things, and I understand both sides. When children were brought up on truancy charges, it was typically against the residential parent unless the non-residential knew about it and did nothing. And that's reasonable. That's reasonable. Ross says, not excited about fantasy. What about entertainment? What about entertainment? Can we be excited about being entertained by people who look like us? Here's what's frustrating me just a little bit. People are excited about a black mermaid, which is 100% not true. Unless you know something I don't. Mermaids don't really exist, right? Mermaids don't really exist. But people are excited about a black person being the Little Mermaid. And nobody is saying, oh, it's not historically accurate. Oh, it's not that. The people are accepting that what it is a vehicle to entertain you. And you get to see somewhat a reflection of yourself in it. You get to be the main character, which is a big deal. Why can't it be the same way for the Woman King? Why can't it be the same way for the Woman King? LaDonna says, I keep hearing that it's good. I'm seeing the other side, people who are saying, it's not that the movie itself is not good. Not that the movie itself is not good, but that it's not historically accurate. And it's painting this picture of black people. And again, not that black people, Africans didn't sell other Africans into slavery, but kind of why are we highlighting that? And there are a lot of black people. There are a lot of black people that don't like the idea of it. And I understand that. But at the same time, most of your movies, okay, I know this ain't the same, but the movie about Queen, not the Queen that just died. Excuse me. The movie about the musical group Queen. You ever watch like those breakdowns? You know, people do breakdowns of movies, and especially when they do biopics, they look at what was true and what was not true. They make up a whole lot of stuff in biopics. Because the main purpose, they kind of want to tell the story of the person. But they don't necessarily, Bohemian Rhapsody, yes, thank you, Tria. But they don't want to necessarily tell the whole true story. They change stuff for entertainment's sake. They change stuff for the sake of entertainment. And if people wasn't like, I'm not watching that Queen movie because that's not historically accurate. People are like, yeah, Queen. We will rock you. You know what I'm saying? Look, yeah. You know, that's what they were saying. So again, I see it both ways. I see it both ways. But uh, uh, mermaids are real and they black. All right. James Muhammad says, bring it, E-Man, fairy tales, lies made to seem fair, black mermaids. We need to be in the black reality in present time relationship. I'm not 100% sure what you mean, but I feel like what you're saying, I feel like what you're saying is basically we need to stop indulging in fantasy for the sake of entertainment. If I read that wrong, forgive me. But that's what I perceive you to be saying. I reject that. I reject that wholeheartedly. I think just like everybody else gets to indulge in even sometimes just some mindless entertainment, we get to indulge in entertainment as well. And we deserve to see ourselves depicted as the heroes, even in our fantasies. We deserve to see ourselves depicted as the heroes, even in our fantasy sometimes. Because we all fantasize. We can't be the only ones who don't ever get to fantasize. Like, oh, they get superheroes, they get mermaids, they get space travel and adventure, they get living under the sea. I guess that would be mermaids too, but I was more thinking about, you know, other stuff. They get all of that kind of stuff. They get to go back and, you know, uh, relive Zeus and all of that kind of stuff. They get to fantasize about all of this kind of stuff, open their minds up to all of these different fantastic worlds, and be the heroes in all of them. We have to just stay stuck in the present and deal with the harsh reality that we deal with. No, I reject that. I reject that. We get to have fun. We get to fantasize, go to fantastic places, other worlds, travel space, be superheroes, live under the sea, be ghost whisperers. You know, we get to fantasize about all of that stuff, and we should be able to, in our fantasies, see ourselves as the heroes. I reject what you're saying. I reject what you're saying. Janice says, oh, you can't hear any negative black history? There are people who are just saying that it's not historically accurate. And there are people who saying, why highlight that? As much negativity about black people that's highlighted, why highlight that piece of negativity? I understand that. I understand why they would say that and why they would feel that way. Let's see. Bonita says everybody believe in the good, bad, and the ugly, right? Anthony says, right. Our kids need to be able to dream also. Ross says Santa Claus effed y'all up, major. It's not about Santa Claus. Even though I have a problem if you want to believe in Santa Claus, if you want your children to indulge in that fantasy. Now, it's not something that I believed in, but if that's what you want to do, what is it hurting? What does it hurt your child, not you, but what does it hurt this one to believe in Santa Claus? It don't hurt me none. It don't hurt her mama or daddy. It don't hurt her. She'll grow up and eventually she'll learn, Oh, that wasn't true. That was just a fantasy. What do it hurt? She get to fantasize. She get to watch little puppies run around and save the world. Paw Patrol. I hate that shit. But she get to watch that if she want to and fantasize about it. James says, well, we hear you, man. Fantastic liars circumventing our people, making a better life for our, I think you mean own. I'm, again, not 100% sure what you mean, but what I take from that is that you're saying, no, we don't get to fantasize. We have to be stuck in a struggle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I reject that. I reject that. Believe it or not, people can do more than one thing at a time. I can know and acknowledge that a struggle is going on and that the struggle is real, even while I'm watching the Avengers. Janice says, because when you tell a story, it has to be as historically accurate as possible. I'm not sure if you're saying that sarcastically, uh, but no, it doesn't. It could just be for entertainment. They take actual historical figures and create all kind of fantastic stories about them. And they don't be historically accurate. They're just for entertainment. Some of the stuff, what was that movie that Nicolas Cage was in? And Nicolas Cage was in it, and they were searching for like treasure, national treasure. Some of that was historically accurate stuff. It was based on historically accurate figures and situations. And then they took it from that and made this whole fantasy about it. They made this whole fantasy about it. Doesn't have to be historically accurate. It can just be entertaining based on something historically accurate or historical. Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny are fantasies encroaching on blacks' present time conditions. How? How? How is it? 717 King, James. How is it encroaching on the present time? What, because a kid get to be in awe? They get to experience a sense of fantasy and wonderment, if that's a word, for a few days. How's that taken away from our present time conditions? Um, Ross says it hurts cognitive reality. Imagine real life, not make believe. So you don't watch or pay attention to, focus on, read nothing that's not 100% real life. Is that what you're trying to convince me of? You don't watch movies. You don't watch TV shows. You don't watch anything that's not 100% rooted in reality. Come on. You ain't fooling me. Of course you do. Heck, you listen to music. It's not 100% based in reality. You know, most of the stories that they talk about, they just writing songs like it ain't even like real. It ain't real. It's a story that they concocted in their head. It's fantasy. When Prince says, in France, a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. By chance, his girlfriend came across a needle and soon she did the same. He probably didn't actually know some dude in France that died of that big disease with that little name. And he didn't know his girlfriend. He just imagined a guy in France dying of that disease with a little name. And he imagined his girlfriend coming across the needle and doing the same. It wasn't some historically accurate, reality based anything. And we don't get to do that now because it's got to be reality. So he had to actually have known Ted in France that was fat, but got that disease and turned skinny and then died. And then his girlfriend, Jessica, he had to actually know that? No! That's fantasy, bro. That's not based in reality. It's made up. We get to make up stuff. Uh, Anthony says some kid fantasized about going into space at one time. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have been allowed to, because at the time I'm certain that wasn't based in reality. Ross Freeman says he watches only news. You know they don't always tell the truth on there too, right? They don't always tell the truth. It's not always based in reality. Oh no. Let me scroll. All right. James, I need you to write, if you don't mind, like write complete sentences. Complete coherent sentences. Like I don't want to have to keep interpreting what I believe you trying to say. If you don't mind, if you can write complete coherent sentences, I would appreciate it. Secondly, ellipsis, the dots that you're doing, it's only 3 dots. It's only 3. It's only 3. It's not however many are there, 4 or 5, or whatever. I can't really see. It's only 3 dots. No, I'm not. I keep having to interpret what I believe he's saying. I don't want to have to interpret what I believe he's saying. I just want to be able to, oh, James said this, and then that's what James thinks. Instead of, James saying a whole lot of stuff and then me saying, I think what you meant by that is this. Just say what you mean. You don't have to sound deep. You don't have to sound deep. You don't have to use the biggest word that you can think of. Just say what you mean. complete the idea for your. No, it's your thought. That goes against exactly what I perceive you saying. So you want to give me half a thought and then have me create, use my imagination, my creativity to concoct a second half of the thought. Thought we wasn't allowed to do that. Thought we wasn't allowed to do that. Just say what you mean. That's it. Just say what you mean. Just say what you mean. And we can discuss it. We can discuss it. Say what you mean. We can discuss it. I don't I'm just because if I had to keep interpreting what you're saying, then I'm gonna be like totally misinterpreting it. And then you're gonna be mad. So yeah, just say what you mean. Just say what you mean. Um, I'm not putting up all of that negative stuff y'all saying about my dear friend James Muhammad. I just want him to be even. Hold on. Uh, my brother. Again, with the ellipsis. It's not necessary. You could have, brother E man, I said it, and you already know hell is a condition on earth. You can just write that with no ellipsis. You can just write that out. What is the purpose of the daggone ellipsis? I don't know. And if you pull all the dots out of that, you have a complete thought. You don't have to put all the dots in there, bro. You don't. I promise. Uh, Jerica says, did I miss you discussing the mom being charged with the baby's death? Oh, you didn't. I forgot. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Mary says that mom who was charged with the baby's death and what they're saying was co-sleeping. All right. Mary says they would not charge a white mom for that same thing. Okay, it's Hamilton County, so that's possible. Because we are talking about the office that Dieters runs down there. So it's very possible that they wouldn't. Because I wholeheartedly believe he's a racist and that permeates through the entire office. So it's potentially you're correct on that, Mary. However, if one baby died due to that, and you was warned about it, talked to about it, probably counseled about it, told, don't do this, this is dangerous. And you don't really even have to be told anymore. You've seen firsthand how dangerous it can be. Why do it again? And you are. Look, I don't know exactly what happened, of course. So let me not talk specifically about that incident because I don't know. But if I'm sleeping with a baby and I roll over on the baby, whatever, the baby died, the baby suffocate, the baby, whatever, because of me. First, I'd like to think I kind of feel myself sleeping on a baby. But if I'm asleep, I'm asleep. If I'm that rough of a sleeper, I definitely shouldn't be sleeping with no baby. And assuming everything was accidental, you gotta make corrections. You're not supposed to just go through life making the same mistake over and over again. And it kind of goes to what I was saying earlier about my belief in terms of rehabilitation. Maybe you killed a baby accidentally. That's something you should learn from. But you got some counseling and some warning and all that kind of stuff. But you just made the decision. You know what? I'm gonna do the same thing again. My guess is if another baby was there, I'm gonna do the same thing again until you get tired. Until you get tired of doing it. No, you deserve some punishment. You deserve some punishment. Timeout ain't gonna help you. Good swift talking to ain't gonna help you. Teaching you people, oh, if they know better, then they do better. Well, they know better now. They got taught about it. But you still decided to keep doing it? No. I I say charges are warranted. I say charges in that particular case, um, assuming everything that we're hearing is true, charges are warranted. And whether or not they would charge a white person for the same crime, I'm going to allow for the fact that maybe they wouldn't. I can't say for a fact that they wouldn't, but I'm going to allow for maybe they wouldn't. But sometimes it come down to, all right, let's assume for a second they wouldn't. Who don't know? Or who among us does not believe that the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office is run by a racist and that racism permeates that office? Who watching does not believe that? So if you watching this and you believe that, I'm sorry, you got to do better. What is sending her to jail gonna do? Punish her. It's punitive. It's a punishment. That's what it's gonna do. It's gonna punish her. Talking to her didn't do anything. Teaching her didn't do anything. Letting it slide the first time didn't do anything. It's punishment. She has mental issues. Again, okay, if she's got mental issues, then maybe somebody should have stepped in and took the child. But it's still punishment. Her mental issues apparently, and again, this is if everything that we're hearing is true, and I don't know that it is. But her mental issues don't stop her from having sex and producing babies. But it stops her from being reasonable in terms of taking care of them. No. Uh-uh. A baby is dead. Uh, Two. Two babies are dead. How many, Jason, how many baby do she get to kill before she get punished? 3, 4, 5. How many babies do we draw the line at? How many babies do we say, okay, that's one too many? Jason says, come on. No, I'm asking legit. I'm asking what I perceive to be a legit question. How many times would you say it's okay for her to do it before she gets punished? Or, again, let me not say her. How many times would you say it's okay for a person to even accidentally, the exact same way, kill a baby and get away with it? Y'all remember? Yeah, I know we all remember the case of, oh, I left the baby in the car seat but I didn't forget my donuts. We all remember that case, right? And they said, oh, it was an accident. It was an accident. What if that lady did the same thing again? Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot my baby in the car again, and the second baby died, and I didn't forget my donuts. Oh, I can't believe it. We would be like, well, I mean, it was a second accident, so, you know, it's okay, because it was an accident. Maybe she got a mental problem. No, we all wanted her to go to jail the first time. We sure as hell would want her to go to jail the second time. Well, what would be the point of her going to jail? What would be the point? Jason says 2 is too many. I understand, but maybe a mental institution. My understanding of the justice system goes like this. If she goes to court and they determine that she's unfit for trial, she goes to a mental institution. So if she really does have this overwhelming mental condition that makes her, I don't even know what it's making her do, sleep with a baby and accidentally kill it. Again, that's if everything that we're hearing is true. Then what? What's the point? What would we get out of that? Even if it's a mental condition, then, go to a mental institution. If they deem that she's not fit to stand trial. But somebody help me. Again, I'm not a psychologist or a clinical counselor or a psychiatrist. Somebody help me understand what is the mental condition that causes you to sleep with a little baby that you can't put them in a crib or something like that. What is the mental condition that causes that? Hold on. Hold on. I'm looking for a comment. You assuming she might have that Brenda Harris. I have no idea what that means. Jason says, obsession. I'm sorry. You don't get off based on obsession. That's not, hold on, I'm not a lawyer. So maybe. But if that's the case, a whole lot of crazy men, for example, should be out of jail for killing they ex. Because they can plead insanity by way of obsession. So I was obsessed with her and she was with somebody else, so I killed her. No, obsession is not a good enough excuse to kill people. I was obsessed. No. I reject that, Jason. I reject that. OCD big time. I'm pretty sure that's not OCD. And if she knew she had that, and she should, you could say, well, maybe she didn't know that she had OCD when she did it the first time, but she should have known it the second time. She should have known it the second time and said, well, you know what? I can't have a baby. Because if I do, I'm just so obsessed with sleeping with him, I'm going to have to sleep with him again. Um, LaDonna says she didn't have a baby bed. I'm sorry, that's no excuse. You can get one. You can go to different charities. You can it, it, it- there's somewhere else to sleep in that home. And if it's not, then you ain't had no business having no baby. A second one. See, all of this stuff might be a half decent excuse for the first time. This is the second time. So for the first time, oh, she didn't have a baby bed. Oh, that's so sad. And so she was trying to make do. Oh, give her a break. All right. Well, she got pregnant again and had another baby. I know, LaDonna. She got pregnant and had another baby. Oh, well, then she knew she needed a baby bed. That's no longer an excuse. What the heck is. I guess when people run out of have half decent stuff to say, they say nonsense. Stop washing your t-shirts with the pink panties. I don't even know what that means, but okay. You've run out of things to say. You could just not say anything when you've run out of halfway reasonable things to say. And it's just, I'm spitballing. Shut the fuck up. You could. I mean, that's an option. It's an option. You don't always have to type something. You can shut the fuck up. She could be schizophrenic. Oh boy, all the excuses. All the excuses. Um, let's see. And LaDonna, I knew you were just asking, or at least I assumed that you were just asking. Um, Cam says it's jokes. Is it really? Like, I don't even understand the joke. Like, it's not even a reasonable joke. It's definitely not funny. If you gonna joke, it should make sense. It should be a little funny. I'm like, what in the world is he talking about? Like, it makes no sense. And then I had to read it. I mean, I don't have to read it out loud. I don't have to put it up on the screen and read it. But, like, if you just run out of stuff to say, it's okay to not say anything. That's it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Um, Janice says, it's so sad that some people are functioning at such a low mental level. We just assume that they know what they are doing. Sex is a natural act and sometimes under duress. I agree. Sex is a natural act and sometimes it is under duress. What that got to do, help me understand what that got to do with sleeping in the bed with that second baby. Again, on the first baby, maybe. Maybe. Oh, she just, she didn't want to, but it wasn't. So, second baby, that's dead. We're not, we're not talking about whether or not necessarily she should have a child or be allowed to have sex. We're talking about this is a second dead baby. And again, if everything that we're hearing is true, and again, I don't know it to be, it's because you were sleeping with the baby and something in that process caused two children to die. Not one. They kind of forgave it when it was one. Imagine that. And all of this is if everything that we're hearing is true. Oh, you accidentally killed a baby. Look, we feel bad for you. It's a horrible thing. Here is, it was bad. It was avoidable. Here is some information about co-sleeping. Here is some information about SIDS. Here's some information about the best way to do this, and so on and so forth. Go and sin no more. And you did it a second time. It's okay, you can go have sex again. I'm not saying you can't ever have sex. I'm not saying you can't ever have a baby. But that situation should not happen twice. I don't understand no excuses when it comes to that. Well, maybe, but people should be able to have sex. Yeah, but they shouldn't be able to kill two babies. White or black. So how long should she go to jail? I don't know what the statute says in terms of how long one goes to jail for killing a baby a second time. I don't know what the statute says. So I don't know. I don't know. Uh, they said your shirt is pink. Well, it's not. That's what I say. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. And I'm okay, Janice. And if she's that low functioning, there's a price you have to pay for that. That's if she goes to court, and again, if they determine, and I'm not a legal scholar, but my understanding is if you go to court and they determine that really there is something mental going on and you did not know right from wrong, you can't understand the charges and all of that kind of stuff. If you're so low functioning mentally, you go to a mental institution. That's my understanding. Or you go home. Either way, the idea of charging her seems reasonable to me. It seems 100% reasonable to me. She gets a mental evaluation, I'm sure. I guess if her lawyer requests one, I don't know if they have to or not. But she gets a mental evaluation. And then they determine that. They make that determination. I don't know that we can we or anybody else can be okay with somebody accidentally killing two babies in the exact same way. You gotta do something. Here's what I'll tell you. If Joe Dieters or the prosecutor's office said, okay, look, first time she accidentally killed her baby, we let it go because it was an accident and we thought, let's give her some counseling and some help and blah, blah, blah. And then the second time she killed her baby, we said, oh, that was just another tragic accident. And so let's give her some more training and give her some more assistance. And if she kills a third baby, we'll know it was an accident. And so you know what I would be saying? That's because they don't care about black people and black children. That's what I would be saying. He don't care about black children. No, he got to. This is one where they have to. They have to. Who is the father and why didn't he get a baby bed? I don't know that there was not a baby bed there. There may have been a baby bed there. Now, on this one, I say you can't really blame the father. I mean, unless he was sleeping in the bed with the baby too. you can't really blame the father if he wasn't there. That's not the father's responsibility to be over you 24/7. You taking a nap in the bed? Where the baby? That's not his responsibility. So on that one, I can't necessarily go with the father. The woman was reckless and immature. She was negligent and killed her baby. If everything that we're hearing is true. That's the first thing a good lawyer should do. I agree. Jerica says you can use a drawer as a baby bed. Cut it with the excuses. Jerica has created a whole scenario. She was likely high or intoxicated and rolled over on her child. It's possible. It's possible. Cam says the shirt is not pink. Anyone can tell it's a dingy white. It's more of a tan. It's more of a tan. Dee Dee says, y'all just don't know how many of my clients were out here functioning that should have never had children. I have to explain some things like a sixth grader. Not surprisingly, 2 of them had babies die. They died at the hands of someone else, but due to poor decision making. That's terrible. The babies have to pay the price for this stuff. That's terrible. If he's the father of the first child, he should have been more vigilant, in my opinion. But what can you do? Ross wants to know, why you mad at me? Why you mad at homie? I'm not mad at anybody. Did I come off as mad? I thought I was trying to come off as just more matter of fact. Like, guess what happens? If I look at, I got to get off the air because Wyatt's coming on. But guess what happens? If I'm sitting here doing this show and I'm talking, and then I just run out of stuff to say. And I'm like, well, zippity doo dah. The moon is green and 92 planets. And you'll be like, Emanuel, just end the show. Just end the show. You don't have anything to say. No, I got something to say. Wheels and the light cycle and rubber as a means to an end of dichotomy. Lancelot is... y'all would be like, Emanuel, just end the show. Shut the fuck up. You ain't got nothing else to say. Just say, I'm out of stuff to say. Show's over. But to just start crazy talk. So it's not, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying, when you have nothing to say, and y'all ain't even doing the show, like you could just not type however it is you doing it. You could just not do that. And it would be okay as opposed to just saying nonsense. That's all I'm saying. It's more of a suggestion to help you. I'm not mad at anybody. Not mad at anybody. All right. I got to get off of here and let Wyatt get his time in, y'all. Hey, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Check out Wyatt. Go to Wyatt Live. Go to Randall Wyatt. Go to his Facebook page. He got a YouTube page for Wyatt Live. Check out the show. I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about, but you know it's going to be exciting. I hope something amazing happens to you today. Even if that amazing thing is you learn when to shut up. I hope something amazing happens to you today. All right? It's been the afternoon experiment. My name is Emanuel Livingston. Until next time, I'm out, y'all. Peace.